Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about this latest episode of 90 Day Fiancé, Season 10, Episode 10. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments. So we see where Gino and Yasmin are back in this episode. So she's at home and he comes in and things are still a little bit tense between them. She's on the bed and it looks like, I don't know, she's packing or folding clothes. And he's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm cooking." So she's a little bit snippy about that. So Gino is home to apologize. Apparently he needed Dana, whatever his name is, to explain to him that it wasn't the issue of the bachelorette party. It's the fact that he lied about it. So I still don't understand. He apologized for the thing that happened with him not telling her about the bachelor party, but I still don't understand why he felt the need to lie. I highly doubt that Yasmin would have had a problem with him having a bachelor party because they had talked about it before. She was going to plan it when she got back. So it wasn't that she was like, "No, you can't have one," and he really wanted to have one. So I still don't get why, and he didn't explain. So anyway, he keep on saying that it's a tradition, to have a bachelor party, which is yeah, that's true. But do you have to go to a strip club? No. Do you have to be touching strippers and lying about it? No. So he's making it seem like, well, I can't help it because it's a tradition. I have to do this. So anyway, he apologized or whatever, and Yasmin says that she has had issues in the past where she's been cheated on and all that. And so, she doesn't want this to happen again. And she wants somebody that she wants to be able to trust Gino. So, I don't know. We're at the point where, I think Gino, towards the end of this episode, said that they were, 60 days to, potentially getting married. But if we're having trust issues right now, that is not very good. And as a matter of fact, it seems that has been an ongoing issue for a while because I think Gino had mentioned in the beginning of the season how, there were inappropriate messages that Yasmin has found on his phone. And then, of course, we know that Yasmin has gotten money from Dane or whatever his name is, her ex-boyfriend. So yeah, I don't think both of them are being completely honest with each other, and so I just don't see why they're moving forward when they can't trust each other to fully trust each other to begin with. But anyway, so we see where they go to the bowling alley to celebrate. I guess Gina wants to do something nice because now Yasmin is talking to him again, and so I just wondered, like, he's going to the bowling alley, he's paying for shoes. He's buying a bunch of junk food and all that. And we see later on where they're going to Florida. And, Gino's not working. And he was the one who was hell-bent on being on a budget and all this. But then now he's spending all frivolously. And I just wonder, like, what's up with that? Is he really, on a tight budget? Or what's the deal? Because what he's doing is kind of contrary to what he initially started out saying. But then again, maybe the show is paying for all this stuff that he's doing. So that's what I was thinking in my head. Like, okay, maybe it's not his money. So I guess the show paying for it would kind of make sense. But anyway, so they go to the bowling alley. And before they got there, noticed that the guy at the table was, organizing the shoes. And he's spraying the sanitizer. And I noticed he just did the heel, but he didn't spray up towards the front of the shoe. And I was like, ooh, no, I don't want to go bowling ever again because the shoes, people's feet, and he's not spraying the whole shoes. But that's neither here nor there. I just happened to notice that. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been putting my foot in nasty shoes that's not fully sanitized. That is crazy. So anyway, they got there and Yasmin was like, oh my gosh, this place smells of like food and farts and feet. That's kind of funny. I can see that, especially when the man is not fully sanitizing the shoes. And then this is the same guy who, well, no, it's not the same guy because there was another guy that he talked to. No, yeah, it was the same guy who was doing the size of the shoes and taking the shoes, and it's the same person who's taking the order for the food. I hope the person's not touching shoes and then touching the food. Somebody else is bringing out the food. So they got their shoes, and then Gina wanted to get fries and nachos and pretzels. Yasmin says she feels like, they come here just to be able to get junk food. So anyway, Yasmin, she hasn't bowled before. She's seen how that works, but she's doing pretty good. She doesn't take the typical approach. She kind of squats and throws her ball, and that's working for her. She says she typically likes more physical sports like soccer, beach volleyball, or running or whatever, but she can't help that she's good at bowling. That's just how good she is. Which was, she did pretty good for a first-timer. So anyway, so they did that, and then next we see later on in the episode, at the bowling alley, he was saying that, he wanted to do something nice and for her, and he asked her, like, where, would be kind of, that she would like this kind of like home or something like that, and she gets Hawaii, but he was like, no. And so he revealed that he wanted to take a mini vacation to Florida because it's kind of like Panama and all that. So she was excited. She's like, yes, that's my love language, vacation and travel. And he was like, no, your love language is money. And I was like, yes, this is so true. I couldn't agree more. Her love language is money, spending money, having money, getting money. So anyway, so they're going to be on their way to Florida, and we see where they ended up getting their flight there. And when they get there, we see that scene from the preview from the last time where Yasmin, as soon as she made it out of the airport, is stripping down into her little romper, and they head to their hotel and do the little tour of the room and the view and all that, and they made a video for Fiancé. It's funny that she only talks about Fiancé. What about the other son? So anyway, she said that he had written a letter and how he misses her, and being there, that she kind of misses Panama. And she also mentioned how her son had said that, now that she's in Panama, then that she would be closer to him. And that kind of made her sad and emotional. And so they wanted to make a video for Fiancé to show him where they are. And so Gino is supposed to say hi to Fiancé, and Yasmin wants him to say something in Spanish, and he's all awkward as usual. And she's got to be like prompting him, telling him what to say. Hello, I love you, and he doesn't even get that right. And then, behave or whatever. And he was just so awkward. I was just like, Gino, you should know more Spanish by now. Like, why are you all awkward and can't even say a few little words to your stepson? So anyway, they do the little video. It's nice and cute, and that was the end of their segment. So Yasmin is hoping that this little vacation will help them get in the romantic mood, but I feel like they almost never resolve these fights that they have. What did they resolve about the lipstick thing? I don't even know. We just saw where they moved on from that, and then now the lies about the strip club, and then they just brushed over that. We don't even know why he even lied to begin with. So here we go again. They seem to have had a good time thus far between the bowling alley and the trip to Florida. There's no fights so far, so fingers crossed they'll have a nice time without any fights. We see where Sam is meeting to have a barbecue with his parents and his brother Luke. It's pretty dark out to be having a barbecue, but anyway, they're hanging out to have burgers and beer. And he tells them that both Citra, her sisters, and her dad will be coming. And he also tells them that Citra's dad is a cop, which they didn't seem to know. It doesn't seem they know a whole lot about Citra's family, but it seems as though, I think he had made a comment that they didn't think it was real, so I don't know how much about her he had disclosed to them. He goes on to tell them that her dad is going to, when her dad gets here, that they're going to go to a mosque so he can convert to Islam. His mom was kind of saying that, they grew up in a Christian home, and she doesn't feel that to marry somebody, you have to marry their religion, in order to get married to them. And she goes on to ask if they celebrate Christmas. And he says they celebrate something else. He can't remember what it was. And his brother was like, you think that you may want to learn a little bit more about what you're going to be getting into? Meanwhile, in Indonesia, Citra is getting food with her sisters and her dad. And she says she will miss the Indonesian food because it's spicy, and she feels like American food probably doesn't have a whole lot of taste. And her dad tells her that the first thing that she needs to do when she gets to America is to find a mosque that does Islam marriage and then also for Sam to convert. Islam requires for the dad to witness the wedding. And so he says also that basically the only reason that he's allowing Citra to go to the U.S. is because Sam was willing to convert to Islam. So back with Sam, he says that he started seeing a Suboxone doctor, which he says is some opiate that's supposed to help with drug withdrawal. And he says that he got pulled over and he was arrested because he had some of that wasn't in a prescription bottle. And I was like, wait a minute, why would it not be in a prescription bottle? So he got it illegally then. So yeah, he was getting drugs off a prescription. I don't know. I don't get it. Why would the pills not be in a prescription bottle? So he got in trouble with that. Whatever he was up to, he got in trouble with that. And so as a result of that, he was given I guess his sentence was to be in a diversion program, which requires drug testing and drug classes, he says. And so there's a deadline for him to file the application after he received this sentence that he got. And so he says he could go to jail for this. I'm like, what? Why wasn't this priority? Come on, dude. This is your life here. You're supposed to file the application so you don't have to go to jail and take these classes, and he hasn't done so. And so on top of that, he hasn't told Citra about this either because he feels like she might not go to the U.S. if he knows that this is impending or he could possibly go to jail. He just seems so irresponsible, and his sobriety is so shaky. I just don't know that this guy is ready for a marriage. Anyway, so we see where Citra, later on in the episode, she's packing for her flight. It's the day that she's supposed to leave for the U.S., and she's sad to leave her cat. She says that her sisters may not miss her as much, but her dad will miss her. They say their goodbyes. And then we see Sam. He's sweeping up his room. He's trying to get ready for Citra to come. He says that she's a germaphobe, but he's not. And he's trying to beautify his room. He's got new pillows. He got her also a new prayer rug, which is kind of nice. And he says it's been 2 years since they had seen each other in person. And he says that they will have a few days to themselves before her dad gets there. So later on, we see where he goes to the airport and they have a cute little reunion. He tries to pick her up and spin her around, but he's so little. I was worried that he would drop her. They're both really little people, very short. And so they are supposed to be getting married in 2 weeks. So we see where they chatted for a little bit and then they're headed out from the airport. And that's the end of their segment for this week. We are back in Mississippi, and we see where Devin's dad, Kevin, is wanting to have a conversation with Nick because he has concerns about what's been happening. Kevin says the first time that he meets them, he is engaged to his daughter and moving into his house, so he wants to get to know him. So he started off by asking about his thoughts about living in America, and then he mentions the comments that he said at the barbecue about Americans being fat. And he says that American people are larger than Korean people, and that's all he was trying to say. So the dad also mentions the piggy comment, and Nick says it was a joke, and he says that if, something that he says bothered her, then, no, Kevin asked if that bothered her, that he calls her piggy in. Nick says at first it was, but then she got used to it. And he just said it, and she just let him keep on saying it. And he was laughing. And Kevin was like, I want to believe that this is a nervous laugh and not because he finds it funny. So Kevin tells him that it could be a real problem over time. If this is something that bothers her and she might not really say it, but you keep on saying it, then, this is going to lead to, resentment over time. He says that, if he offends someone, he will apologize. But it seems like he wasn't really taking the conversation seriously. He still had a smile on his face, like he was, I don't know. Tell me, I hope this is just a fictitious scene because I don't see why he was laughing. What was so funny? I feel like Kevin is also not good at confrontation, and he wasn't really hard enough on Nick. And maybe the mom should have taken this one because he was just so quiet and he wasn't really asking any tough questions. I mean, I'm glad he at least brought it up, but I don't think Nick is scared of him or anything where a person would be scared of their partner's dad. Anyway, later on, we see where the wedding dress is here. Devin had ordered a custom dress, and her mom, Katrina, are going to open it. She says she ordered a custom himbak. Is that what it's called? And Devin wants to wear traditional garb, and he didn't want to be the only one wearing it, so she ordered one. So when she opened it, it was white. It's nice and pretty, but the top was gold, and she says she hates gold. And she says she thought that it was all white. And I'm like, how? If you see this picture online, you would know that it's not all white. I just wondered, like, who ordered it? How could you not know the top was white? But anyway, this is where things started to go downhill. She doesn't like gold. So then she tries it on, and it actually looks nice. There's a little mesh, little cardigan looking thingy that goes over the top, so you don't really see the gold as much. But her mom says she will try to see if anybody can redo the top. Her mom says that she is an introvert, and she knows from her body language that she's not happy with the gold top, and so she'll try to do what she can to fix that for her. Basically, the vibe that I'm getting from her is that she's an introverted brat. She seems very, very spoiled, and we'll see that later on in the episode. So Devin, they're going to a place to see if they can get a backup dress, just in case they're not able to find a seamstress who can fix the top of the gown that she got by the time the wedding comes around. So Devin is in the car. She's not happy, and she has her heart set on the Korean dress. And so she's not very enthusiastic about this trip to find a backup dress. So she says that she hates dress shopping. She's not really looking, she's not really seeing anything she likes. She's not very enthusiastic. She's not really looking much at the dresses. Like she'll walk by and look, but she's not like touching and pulling, looking at the dresses or anything like that. So her mom decides to pick out a few and say, hey, just try these and see, because she wasn't really cooperating much. She was just there basically. So the first one she tried on was really cute. I like that one. But Devin doesn't like her arms out. And her mom, then she brings out she tries on the second one her mom picked out. And her mom was like, that's nice. And I was like, don't really like that one. But that first one looks nice on her, but she is paranoid about her arms. So Devin says that she doesn't want a backup dress. And so her mom asked her, what will she wear if she's not able to get the Korean dress modified in time? And so her mom is talking to her, and she's not answering. She's just standing there, looking. She's not responsive. And her mom was just like, just go. And so here, I was just like, what is going on? She's acting like a child. What is going on? Her mom's talking to her, and she's not responding. And it's supposed to be her wedding and her choices, but she's not saying anything. So in her confessional, that she's alluding to the fact that her mom is nagging. But I didn't really see it that way. Her mom was just trying to help. She wasn't really forceful. She wasn't really, controlling. She's just offering suggestions. And so she is acting, how she's acting. And so later on, while they're at the dress place, the attendant comes to get her mom, Katrina, because Devin is crying in her dressing room. So when she goes back there, she's like, Devin, are you okay? And she wouldn't let her mom in the dressing room. And then, she's like, are you all right? She's talking to her, and she hands out her equipment, for the show that she was wearing. And her mom was about to go in and make sure she's okay. She's about to open the curtain, and she's like, shut the effing curtain or something like that. She used some expletive at her mom. Was like, oh my gosh, Devin's cursing at her mom. I did not expect that because she's so introverted. I was just shocked by how she was behaving. Ooh, a real bridezilla popping out here. So this episode does not really show a good Devin in a good light. She just seems to maybe there's more to her being an introvert than meets the eye, because this behavior for somebody who is she's finished college, right? She's behaving like a little toddler. I don't know what's going on. But let me know what you thought about her behavior in this episode. So this week is a continuation of the last episode of the Bye Conversation with Rob and Sophie. And Rob is literally stunned into silence because he could not believe what he was hearing. And when he was finally able to speak, he was like, shouldn't you have told me this like 2.5 years ago as a fly crawls over his hand? I was just trying so hard not to laugh. But that's just a side note. So I do agree with him. Like, this is something that she should have told him a long, long time ago. And he feels like Sophie's being dishonest about, well, I feel like Sophie's being dishonest about the reason that she's giving to Rob as to why she's revealing this now. She's saying that she's just now accepting of the fact that she's bi. And I feel like that's a lie. Rob is concerned about what this means for their relationship, and he has questions. Have you ever slept with a woman? Do you want to have sex with a woman? Would you be okay with never having to act on those desires to be with a woman? And she says she just wants him and wants to be married to him. I feel like she didn't really answer the questions that he was asking. She did say that, well, that last question, that third question anyway. She has never slept with a woman. She's never had sex with a woman. And Rob is concerned that she may resent him later on because of the fact that she has these desires that she hasn't acted upon and she doesn't know for sure. Which I agree. I could see that happening, you know, like years from now where she's like, well, you know, there's this thing that's in the back of my mind. I need to figure this out because I don't know which way am I. Should be with a woman? Should I be with a man? But she doesn't know. So I feel like this is something that she needs to pin down first before she gets married and know where she is as far as her sexuality is concerned. Rob feels like in the future she may want to indulge, and she says that if that happens, she would come to and talk to him and maybe they could work something out. I don't know. I don't know how this is possibly supposed to work out in any kind of positive way once they're married. He says that if she wants to get involved with a woman, then it will be both of them. And I was just like, what? So he's trying to get a threesome out the deal, and Sophie's vehemently opposed to that. She's like, that is sick. I'm not doing that. So I just don't see a future for these two just because this is a huge unresolved issue with them, and it's just up in the air as far as which side she's on. So anyway, Rob, I feel like Rob is rightfully concerned. He should be because this is a huge, huge problem. And when it comes down to it, I feel like he's going to waste his time, pretty much waiting it out for her to realize that she wants to explore this side of herself. So she goes on to say that she doesn't want to argue and says that this is the day that we're supposed to buy rings. Are we still doing that? And then she walks off to go inside so he could think about it. So she is a bit snippy, as if he's the one who dropped this massive bomb. I'm like, why are you having an attitude right now? So she goes inside, and so we see later on where they're in the car. So I guess, Rob still wants to proceed. He claims that he doesn't want to throw everything away. So they're going to proceed with moving forward with getting the rings. So as they're driving in the car, he asked if she's confident that she would be happy with just him. And she claims that she has never seen anyone that caught her eye or that she has gotten into anything with. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you know if you're bi then? Because, as Rob was saying before, women can see beauty in other women and not be bi. They can notice, features or, and not think like, oh, I want to be with her sexually. But she says she's never felt this way for anybody. So how are you bi? I just don't get it. I'm confused, but feel free to let me know in the comments if you're more familiar with this issue. But I just don't understand how she came to this conclusion. But anyway, she has a bit of a nasty attitude when he's asking these follow-up questions, which I feel like she should be patient with him because he's trying to understand and wrap his mind around this whole bomb that she's dropped on him. So when they got to the jewelry store, he gets out of the car and he walks off, and she's struggling with the door. She's like, have you locked me in? Have you locked me in? And so she finally got the door open while he's walking off to the door. And I was like, man, I mean, I know you're mad, but good God, you could at least get her door. He's not really treating her as a wife to be. And it's another thing, like how he's completely cold. Well, not completely because he's talking to her, but he's a bit cold because he's mad at her, which I can understand. But still, you're supposed to be pursuing marriage. So, ugh. Anyway, he's in a funky mood. She's snippy, but they're still going to look at wedding rings. It's beyond me as to why they're doing this right now, but okay. Sophie complains that about his attitude and says she feels like it should be a special moment for them to be picking out their wedding rings. But I'm like, can you blame the guy? You choose this day of all days to drop this bomb. What do you expect? And she's acting as if she doesn't have an attitude herself. So I'm like, she's got to be kidding me right now. So she goes into saying that it's weird and awkward and she doesn't want to be there. Yet and still, she's still in there choosing a ring. Why? So anyway, the jeweler, Rob asked the jeweler to show him the rings that he had. No, the jeweler was showing him rings that were just over $1,000, and he says that's about $800 too much. I'm like, what? You wanted $200? I thought he was joking, but he was legit serious. The jeweler said that he tells the jeweler that they're have 90 days there in the K1, have this time to get married, or blah blah blah. So the jeweler was asking, so how has it been going? So he's going off, alluding to the fact that there's secrets coming out, and he's learning new things about her every day, and new secrets and old secrets. And I was like, oh my Lord, the jeweler is just looking awkward. And so Sophie's mad because she had told him not to say anything to anyone. And granted, he didn't say exactly what it was. So, I mean, I guess he's kind of venting without really telling. So anyway, he asked for 2 rings together that are under $500. I couldn't believe he was serious. But anyway, the jeweler was able to find them a ring set. They're tungsten carbide. Is that what it is? Tungsten carbide. That's within the budget. But I'm not going to lie, though. When they did pan over to the rings, when they tried it on, they actually looked pretty nice. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought they would be looking straight up cheap. But I thought they looked decent. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the rings? So anyway, Sophie knows that he doesn't have anything. And I don't know. I was expecting that maybe he would spend like $1,000 or something on the ring, but his budget was $500. So Sophie cannot complain. He doesn't have a bathroom. How can she expect expensive rings from him? But anyway, they're proceeding in this delusion that this sexuality issue is not going to be a problem, and they're proceeding with getting married. This week we see Nikki and Igor after they had that bombshell from last week about the sex friends. Igor said he has had sex friends before he got engaged to Nikki, and he says him and Nikki never had the conversation about being exclusive. Basically, that's my translation of what he said. And he's following her and trying to stop her because she stormed out and trying to stop her from leaving. Nikki claims that she's not doing the engagement, and so, we see where Igor is saying that her past, his past doesn't mean anything, and tells her that they need to create their future. He's claiming that whatever it was that was happening with his sex friends didn't mean anything. Nikki says that people like her don't have many options, and she's worried about where that would leave her if she ends their engagement. So, Nikki, she's just having this woe is me type of, narrative right now. You move on just like anybody else who's gone through a relationship. What do you mean? So if you're not going to, do what you need to do, then just stop with the drama. Because if you're not going to leave, then just forgive and just move along. She just makes idle threats all the time, and yet she still hangs around. Anyway, we see where Igor, they were going up the street, and Nikki sat down. And Igor was on his knee in front of her asking how they're going to fix this, or how they can fix this. Back in the room, we see where Igor is asking again. He's trying to talk to her. Nikki is packing up her things. And so, coincidentally, this fight is happening on their last day. And so she's packing up. It's looking like she's really leaving, but really they're just leaving to go back to the apartment. Igor is trying to get her to talk, and she claims that she's leaving. She's going to be leaving. And she says she's hurt. She feels used and betrayed, and says that, it's fine if they had an agreement that they could do whatever, but it was never discussed. And, well, I feel like this, goes without saying that they should have been exclusive based on what they were doing, but it could also go the other way as well, since they never discussed that he couldn't, then I feel like that's open to interpretation as well. Igor says that they were trying to communicate at that point that they were in Mexico and see how things would work, and that when he gave her the ring, it was serious for him. And so Nikki is feeling like, you know, it should have been serious for him based on the fact that they were together. He was helping her financially. You know, she keeps bringing up the money thing again. And it seems as though she feels like, you know, money is supposed to buy her love and loyalty. And really, that is not the case. You know, I wish she would stop holding the money thing over his head. It's either you want to help him out or you don't. And if you don't feel like, you know, you want to give him the money, then just don't give it to him. Just stop. We just don't want to hear about this money thing anymore. Nikki says that they were already serious in Mexico, and he says maybe in your head. Seriously, they were both not on the same page. They never discussed exclusivity, as she admitted to. And so this fight, I don't know why they're even having this fight, really, because they never discussed this to begin with. Granted, I feel like Igor should have known that the fact that they were, you know, being intimate at that point, that they should have had the discussion, or maybe he should have erred on the side of caution and stopped with his sex friends, but he hasn't. So they're just not on the same page on that, among many other things. So he goes on to say, you know, let's drop the situation in the garbage. And Nikki says that if he does that, he's going to. If she does that, he's going to. That was kind of funny. She says that she's going back to the apartment and that she has a lot of thinking to do. And I was like, what? I thought you already decided that you weren't going to go forward with the engagement. So now she's going to be thinking. So anyway, she's crying and saying that she knew the entire time that something was off and that she had invested so much time in the relationship, and now she's questioning everything. She says that she feels like he has somebody else, and that's why he didn't want to make love to her. So now we can never go by one episode without her talking about sex. So now she's bringing up how this is why he didn't want to make love to her, because he had somebody else. So she's not going anywhere. I don't feel like she's leaving. It's just all for dramatics. They never discussed it. I can see where he was continuing his thing, because while they were doing their thing, it wasn't exclusive. But for her, she felt like it should have been. She also brings up the K1 application that she had submitted. I don't know if Igor was aware of when that was submitted. You know, did she tell? Well, yeah, he would have to have been aware, because she would have had to have gotten paperwork from him. So according to him, the engagement was when exclusivity started. And according to her, it was when they were in Mexico. So who knows? I don't know. They need to get it together. Today we see Clayton taking Anali to a farm. It's a little nod to her country, because Peru is known for alpacas and llamas. And so this farm has llamas, among other things. So Anali says that the alpacas and llamas are more in the mountain, but they're not very close to where she lives. She lives further on the coast. So we see where they have to feed the llama, and they do the llama kiss, where you put a carrot in your mouth and then the llama will take it out your mouth or whatever. And then we also see where Clayton is feeding, like he's there and being attacked by goats. Like the goats are like climbing on him. They got their feet on him and trying to get food. And so then we see there's a llama over his shoulder wanting food too. It was just hilarious. It just has animals everywhere. And so he says this is the most action that he's had since, he says this to Anali, the most action that he's had since she's arrived. I was like, oh, come on now. I feel like he should not have said that, because we already know, and she's already told him, if she feels pressured into doing something, she is not going to do it. So him alluding to, you know, not getting action from him, yeah, I feel like he's going to regret that. And that's kind of like a veiled way of pressuring her into being intimate when she doesn't want to. She seems to be withdrawing from him. And I feel like, yeah, there's not going to be anything that he can do about that, because I don't know what she was expecting, but this little whole setup with all the animals and his mom living in the 1-bedroom apartment, she's not impressed by this. So anyway, she says that it's because they're crazy for him, you know, why they were attacking him. I was like, oh, so you're not crazy for him? It's just the animals that are crazy for him? Ha ha! That was funny. So he thinks that bringing her to see the llamas will seal the deal, and then he's going to take her to get a taste of home. He takes her to a Peruvian restaurant, and once again, he's hoping that he'll get lucky. Anyway, Anali says her diet has changed a lot since she came to the U.S. Clayton could eat burgers all day long, and then she also talks about, well, both of them, how much time he spends in the bathroom. I'm like, what the heck? Gino and Yasmin also had a conversation earlier about bathroom time or whatever, alluding to that. And I was like, I really wish that they would cut this topic out the episode. I just want to barf. Like, we don't want to hear that at all. I don't think anyone is interested in hearing about that. But anyway, Annalise brings up how she spends all her time indoors and he spends all his time on the computer playing video games, and this is not the life that she envisions. She's a very social person, and she says that she would like to tells him that she would like to meet his circle of friends, since she doesn't know anyone other than his family. Well, he tells her that all his friends are online, and she is just looking in disbelief, like, what? But I feel like she should have known this already, though, having known him for 3 years. Has she ever heard him talk about a friend or photos with a friend or going to hang out with a friend? And maybe she didn't think much of it, in this time since she was long distance, but this is a massive red flag if he has no friends at all. So for her, friends is a personal thing, which I feel like this is the right definition of a friend. You meet them in person, you hang out with them, you know them for a while, you know their family. And she feels like, calling somebody your friend who you never met in person, you don't know their family, don't know anything about them, is kind of weird, which I kind of agree. Yeah, you may chat to them online, but are they a friend per se? I guess that's up for debate. So he brings up how they were long distance 2 to 3 years. And I'm like, how do you bring that up in relation to this conversation that you're having? It's completely different. This is a romantic relationship versus a platonic friendship. And the fact that they have met in person, which she brought up. So that's not really the same thing. You can't really call your online friendships similar to what you have with Anali. So anyway, she is now wondering if she has made the right decision in leaving Peru. How could she just have Clayton and her mom and his mom, only those two to socialize with? She is just like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Anyway, this fact is kind of hitting her like a ton of bricks right now, and she doesn't really look amused. So later on in the episode, we see that Annalise cleaning the apartment, and where's Clayton? On the computer as usual. She's having a little bit of anxiety about all the darn animals in the apartment and all the crap that's everywhere. The place is still filled with things. And so she feels like the apartment is just for one person, which it is. It's a 1-bedroom apartment and not for 3 people plus animals. So Annalie is like, we see where Clayton was talking about how the kitchen was getting cluttered. And apparently Annalie is contributing to the mess as well, because we see where Miss Violet's saying that that's Annalie's mess. I was waiting to see if she was going to clean it up. I was like, ooh, snap. So maybe a part of her anxiety might be with having to interact with Violet and whose mess is this and whose mess is that. Yeah, it's really, really close quarters, so I could see that being a problem for her. And Annalie worries about the fact that Clayton is so isolated and they're so different from each other, because he just wants to be on the computer all day and she's more of a social person, and she just worries about how this will affect their relationship. She asked to go to California to meet his good friend and ask him to be their best man. This is the one person that he says he's known for 10 years, but they just never met in person. And this person lives in San Diego. So this is what she's asking. And so I guess they're going to go finally meet him in person and see if he'll be their best man. Annalie says her first month in the U.S. has really opened up her eyes, and it's scary. She needs a larger inner circle and need more friends. And she worries about whether the relationship will last. Yeah, considering that She doesn't really seem attracted to him at all. I don't know what changed between Peru and here. Well, a lot has changed because now she sees how he's living, and maybe this is just something that's just turning her off because maybe she had a different impression of him in his life, and then now that she's in it, she's like, oh my goodness, this is not what I thought. So, I don't know. I think maybe if he, moves out, or his mom moves out and he does something about the animals, or maybe he gets a 2-bedroom apartment or something like that, maybe this will help. But right now, this whole situation is not it. Anyway, this is all for the episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe.